All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome onto the stream, or whenever you're watching this. This is the latest update on today's severe weather potential, as well as the rest of the evolution of this winter storm as it continues to make its way on off towards the east. So if I can go ahead and get a thumbs up down in the comments, I'm looking at this on my own end to kind of see what's going on here, make sure everybody can see and hear what I'm doing, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with this update and the latest information, model timing, all of that right here on One Nation Weather. So let's go ahead and see if this is working here. Hopefully so. And I just want to make sure if I can get a thumbs up in the chat, that would be great for me. So if I'll get a thumbs up right now in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and get on started. Thank you. Alright, I just turned the volume on my phone, and I think I can hear myself. Nothing in the chat yet. We've got a good few viewers on. Okay. All right, looking like everything's working on my end. I'm looking at it on my phone. It's working. All right, let's go ahead and get into this content here. Let's start off with our latest satellite loop, and we're going to go ahead and flip on over to where you can see my full screen here. Let's go ahead and head on over into the satellite loop at this time, and you can see here as the sun comes up, we can see low pressure really over parts of the Midwest this morning, and this is really helping to spark some early day thunderstorm activity in the region I just circled here with some scattered storms. Oh, I just turned up my volume on my phone. Some of these zones here, you can see we've got some severe thunderstorms or trying to get going here, and these will be the first ones that probably go severe later today. So we'll see if we can get that happen. But anyway, we're looking at some of the winds gusting maybe 40 miles per hour in some of those storms. But anyway, as the day goes on today, that's when we're going to see the severe weather risk begin to go on to the increase here over areas, especially over parts of southeast Arkansas, northeast Louisiana, northern Mississippi, really central and northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, as well as into parts of southwest Tennessee and southern Kentucky here. And this is an all-hazard event day, okay, over this region here. So I want everybody in this zone to just be prepared for the chance of some damaging winds, 60 miles per hour in a scattered fashion. In some of these storms, we'll have some hail, and we'll also have the potential for some tornadoes to get going in these cells. Again, it is a 5% tornado risk day. Again, that correlates right in that slight risk zone here. Really pretty much eastern Texas being shaved out of this over the last few updates from the Storm Prediction Center, just based on what we're looking at here. So that's been shaved on off towards the east with that. But again, it starts out with a kind of a wind, hail, and tornado threat. Hail would be most likely early on in the lifespan here over that western zone. So Memphis, Tennessee, parts of northern Mississippi, southeastern Alabama getting in on the that hail threat, and then it turns into more of a wind and tornado threat with time as this moves on off towards the east. Notice it diminishes a little bit. This is into the night tonight into these zones in the eastern part, but still marginal risk there. Just reading through the text on Storm Prediction Center, a few tornadoes damaging to severe thunderstorm gusts and isolated severe hail possible today and tonight from portions of the Ohio Valley southward to the central Gulf Coast. So, weakening occluded low and cold front drawn there from over parts of the Ozarks to north central Texas. And again, in these zones, that's where we're going to look at. Overall here, we're going to have enough wind shear, we're going to have enough instability to get at least a lower end tornado threat going here. And again, this is not a major severe weather event, but we need to monitor it. Thank you in the comment. Hey, Severe Storm Filmer. Hey, Farouk. Thank you guys for being on here. Good to see you guys in the chat and your accounts in the chat there. All right, let's head on over now to the latest here on the storm energy we're going to have for the day today. Here we go. We're going to have this little boundary set up kind of right along here, and our storm energy is going to be most focused over parts of Louisiana and Mississippi, but we're going to have storms extending all the way on up into Kentucky, Tennessee, and there's going to be enough storm energy in those areas to where I would anticipate, at least, again, the chance for tornadoes to extend as far north as southern Ohio. This is where I'm kind of anticipating that tornado setup to be for the day today, along this line right here. Am I expecting it? Severe Storm Filmer, I know you want the severe weather. I know you love filming it. I just don't think it's going to make it as far north as you today. But we could still see again that damaging wind threat a little bit further, extend a little bit further north than the tornado threat. So let's go ahead and head on over now to future radar and kind of time out what we're looking at today. This morning we've already actually got some cells over parts of northeastern Arkansas. And, you can see these cells are on the stronger side of things. And actually, right now we've actually got a severe thunderstorm warning on one of the cells there in southwestern Kentucky. But I actually want to turn weather alerts off temporarily here because I don't want those all over my future radar guidance here. But we're already getting some severe thunderstorm warnings, indicative of the scattered fashion of those warnings that we're going to see throughout the day today. Again, notice this is all connected to the low that's further north, and of course in this live stream and video, if you're watching this later, it's a video for you. Hey, good to see you in the comments. A long time no see, sir. Nice to see you there, Mr. DeHart. Thank you for tuning in. But anyway, this is going to continue making its way on off towards the east. And then, we'll eventually see winter storm impacts into parts of the northeast. But let's start off with the severe weather here. Eastern Arkansas, again, some of this activity as early as, this afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock, extending through parts of southeastern Arkansas, on up through Memphis, Tennessee, just northwest of the Nashville area. So again, this is where we're looking at those cells developing. Again, notice how this line sets up. This is a linear segment, okay? We're not looking at... This is not discrete supercells or anything, but there will be embedded supercells along here, and maybe some of these cells out here into parts of Mississippi could be on the stronger side. We'll see if we can get any tornadoes in those. I wouldn't anticipate much in the way of a tornado threat out of those, but at least 1 or 2 possible in some of those isolated cells out front. So we'll watch those cells closely. But it's this linear segment right here that's going to have the potential for those damaging gusts, the hail, as well as that, again, that moderate tornado potential here. That's not an extreme tornado potential, but it is there. Notice how this line extends well out of the tornado impact zone and on up into parts of Ohio and Indiana there. As you make our way towards 3, 4, 5 o'clock this afternoon, notice you can see some of these cells along the southern end looking on the feisty side, probably an embedded tornado warning somewhere along that area of the line. Especially up here, some damaging wind potential, maybe some embedded tornadoes as well. And then on up into Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio, again, getting in on some of the rain. Up there towards Cleveland, Ohio, some storms as well. Again, maybe some brief 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Even if you don't see severe weather up in that area. So we'll see what's going on there. Then as this continues heading eastward, again, we continue to see this line form. So through portions of northern Mississippi, we're still getting in on this threat. The line's actually going to be kind of straight up and down initially, and you can kind of see that there, and then eventually it kind of tilts just a little bit more diagonal like this. But anyway, you can see those cells. This is this evening, say around 7, 8 o'clock. Let's get those timings back on the screen. This is 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. You can see through parts of northern Alabama, central Tennessee, on up into parts of Kentucky, as well as into Ohio. We're getting in on this threat for some gusty winds, those tornadoes to push eastward. The hail threat lowering at this point. This continues eastward, and then once we get towards around 10, 11 o'clock tonight, we begin to see this move out of that zone. But some of these southern parts here of this line, notice, this is already into western North Carolina here, but with that diagonal tilt, it extends all the way back into parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. Could we be seeing some isolated tornadoes here into the nighttime hours tonight, that evening time frame? Yes, we very well could be. So I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a couple of tornado warnings in some of those cells right there. But overall, the threats begin to wane into the night tonight, and then into the day tomorrow, we see this line kind of push eastward with some very heavy rain along Atlanta on up to Greenville, South Carolina, up through Greensboro, North Carolina, extending all the way on up into parts of Virginia, as well as towards Washington, D.C. region as well. So really a pretty dynamic system developing here, and that's just the beginning stages. And then tomorrow we'll watch this region for that, the marginal chance of some severe weather. Now let's head back on over to the HRRR model here on pivotal weather, and let's look at the max updraft helicity with some of these cells in the 3-hour max. Now what this is doing is just looking for rotating storms. So essentially any little lines you see on your screen, that's where there could be some at least rotation in some of these cells. And you notice that moving along here. I kind of want to zoom in a little bit more. Let's go down here into the Ohio Valley. That's going to showcase most of this zone. Yep. This is what the view I want. Notice here we go. This is this afternoon, say around, we're heading into the mid-afternoon time frame. It's these little cells right here that have the potential to produce some brief tornadoes and spin ups along that. You can see the way they're moving like this. They're not long track. You don't notice any long track tornado potential out of these. They're probably going to be briefer, weaker tornadoes, but we will have that tornado chance. So that's why this needs to be, watched so closely. But again, if we're looking at the legend down here, it goes all the way on up into these purples and pinks. We're not seeing that. We're seeing some, some yellows and oranges. But nonetheless, again, notice here, this area has the rotating tracks into the evening. This is, say, 6, 7, 8 o'clock Central Time this evening. There's a few of them, again, trying to make their way into southern Ohio, so we'll see if a few of those can get there. Again, this is not saying there's a tornado on the ground in any of these cells. This is just a prediction. There could very well be very little to no tornadoes today, but this is where at least some rotating tracks are anticipated with the models moving through parts of, Kentucky, Tennessee, as well as in northern Mississippi tonight. Notice it's kind of off the picture here, but down there, those are some of those rotating tracks I was telling you along the line as it kind of, shifts a little bit more in the diagonal state here. And then as we go into our Sunday morning, really pretty much all the rotating tracks weakening, maybe a few trying to get here into parts of central North Carolina and central South Carolina into our Sunday, but a renewed weak tornado threat will try to get going in North Carolina during the afternoon. Just not going to really happen as much. It's going to be more of a damaging wind threat overnight tonight and into the rest of the lifespan of the system. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and turn on off the Storm Prediction Center outlook and head on over into the winter weather impact side of things, because that's also something we're watching here. And we're going to turn on the NAM 3-kilometer model. We're going to turn on precipitation type, and then we can actually get going with this that regard of this as well. Let's see if I can get, there we go, precipitation type, and this is going to turn us into winter weather mode. Early on with this system, also notice we're getting some pretty decent snowfall up here over parts of Bismarck, or east of Bismarck towards Fargo. There in the north central United States, we've got Minneapolis, Minnesota, Rochester, Minnesota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, all these areas getting in on at least a little bit of snowfall initially on here. Now what's going to happen is this low pressure system that's over the Great Lakes at this point, bringing some gusty winds and some showers, some rainfall, it's not going to be able to just really survive all the way to with this system as it was initially expected to do. It's not going to become a bomb cyclone, but what will try to weaken or strengthen in pressure is the new system that's going to develop with this in the mid-Atlantic. And you can see, again, here we go. Here's the southern end of that line. We've got this area of those storms into the evening tonight. Meanwhile, we've got some, decent wraparound snowfall here into parts of the upper peninsula of Michigan, parts of Wisconsin, as well as, some lake effect there into places like Muskegon, Holland, and Traverse City in Michigan. But anyway, this is when things really begin to get going here. This is as we're making our way into the overnight tonight. This, you can see that initial line kind of pushing east. We get a secondary line right here. That's because a low pressure system's forming right in this region here. Going to make its way on off towards the northeast like so. And as that happens, that's really going to make this quite dynamic. You can see that extra southerly push right there. And look at how snowfall mixes in into Appalachia here. We'll see this back into western PA in our Sunday evening as well. Places like Pittsburgh, you'll probably finish off with at least some brief snowfall out of this event. Buffalo, New York, you could finish off with some brief snow. Notice it's starting out at some quite solid rainfall, moderate to heavy rainfall along that east coast with this event. Into the, say this is midnight, Sunday night going into our Monday, look at how this turns into some very heavy, wet snow through Appalachia, as well as back into parts of central PA, central New York, so Utica, New York, places like Williamsport, Pennsylvania State College, Altoona, all these regions, on down into West Virginia. Anticipate this, okay? Anticipate some snowfall that will be quite heavy, but will be brief. This is going to be brief, heavy snowfall that we get moving through these areas. So we could see some very quick accumulation into some of these spots if it can last long enough. Notice here that snowfall line continues pushing towards the east coast, and by the time we make our way towards 4 a.m., on our Sunday, we're beginning to see some of the snowfall move into Montpelier, Vermont, that stretches down to Albany, New York, Allentown, PA, Baltimore, Maryland, as well as Washington, D.C. And again, those grayer colors indicating some of the heavier snow. So we could very well be seeing some quite heavy snowfall moving along with this. Just to show you what's kind of going on down towards the south, could we see some snowfall mix in briefly into parts of, central North Carolina, just north of the Raleigh area? Yes, we could also see that. But to just zoom back on in, this is places like Philadelphia and New York City. This is what you're looking at here. Could, with this, with that extra low pressure that develops, could you be getting that northerly push bringing in briefly blizzard-like conditions with gusty winds and heavy snow? Maybe so, but look at this. Look at how this makes its way all the way on over. A couple hours of some brief snowfall there into parts of New York. That would be really crazy. Um, so that's really interesting there. But anyway, we continue to see the system move on off towards the north and east. Very heavy rain, by the way, continuing over parts of the coastline zones. But even places like Boston may see a brief snowfall out of this. But just the way the system curves, I just don't think snow is going to occur into places like Boston out of this system. Now, one last thing I want to show you here. Hey, Mr. Storm, how are you doing? Hope you're doing really well. It's looking like your wind potentials are going down there a little bit on Long Island, actually. And that's what I'm heading over to right now. If my menu will open up, come on. I love Radar Omega, but sometimes my computer has a little bit of trouble opening up the menu. Alright, let's go. Where's my wind gusts? Does this not have... Oh, NAM doesn't have wind gusts. Does it? Let's open this back up. Menu. Here we go, 10 meter wind gusts. Okay, let's go ahead and kind of see what's going on. So this morning it's pretty gusty over parts of the north central, especially in the Great Lakes. We've got some 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts up in that zone. Look at this northwest flow we're getting behind that. That's with that little snowfall band up here in the Dakotas and Minnesota. Some snowfall falling in some 40 to 50-mile-per-hour winds. It's blustery up here. We've got wind alerts going on, and we've got some of that light snowfall coming down. Maybe some brief blizzard-like conditions if you can get enough overlap. Hey, Chesham Academy, welcome into the chat. Hope you're having a great day. But anyway, continuing this out, you can kind of see this front over here continuing to progress eastward into the south, and as this moves into Appalachia, we'll see some 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts bank up against the mountains. A good swath of everybody seeing, pretty much 20 to 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts as a safe bet over this region. But it's once we get into the northeast when we're going to see that, once that surface low develops over the mid-Atlantic, that helps to bring some of those gusts on up into parts of the northeast. And look at how this begins going here into our evening hours, our afternoon hours on our Sunday. 30, 40, 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible around New York City. Could we have some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts going on here around Long Island? Yes. I don't expect, extreme wind gusts to occur right in that zone, but could we? This model is actually on the higher end of some of those gusts, but still some 50 to 60-mile-per-hour gusts along Long Island in our Sunday evening, and then we continue to see this wind kind of head on off towards the northeast. Parts of the main coastline might also get impacted with this. So that's basically all we're looking at with this system, and that's all the latest details I have on this stream. I'll probably have more updates, maybe do some live severe weather coverage this afternoon, some videos, something going on this afternoon on the channel, so stay tuned for the latest updates in the community post section. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know down there in the chat right now. But that's all I'm expected to cover right here, right now. On the video. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll take about 1 minute to sit here and see if there's any questions, and if not, this thing is just going to post as a video right after this. It's at the top of my channel section, so great to see that there. So anybody who missed the stream can get the latest updates. But thanks for being on here. Maybe another live later, maybe some severe weather coverage. Don't know exactly what's going to happen and play out today, but it's a Saturday, so I'll be waiting with anticipation here. It's looking like